Hey, so this is one of our videos, our furniture flipping course videos that I've posted right here on YouTube free. Now, if you want to see our whole entire course, you can go check it out at paintlifesupply.com. The whole course includes over 40 videos. It starts from how to market yourself to flip furniture to actually how to repaint furniture, how to prime it, how to sand it, how to flip it, basically, and make money doing so. Hopefully you enjoyed this free video from our furniture flipping course, and go check out the whole thing at Paint Life Supply. Alright, so I got a piece of furniture here now, and I'm going to go over, kind of the steps that I do to, refinish a piece of furniture. The first thing I'm going to do is inspect, the furniture to make sure there's nothing loose that doesn't need to be tightened. Now we got some legs on this piece of furniture that are wobbling and stuff, so you're definitely going to want to have some tools to tighten things up. What we don't want to do is get our furniture all done and then have stuff all loose on it, begin having to tighten it and turning it upside down and sideways and stuff to tighten it later on, because you might scratch it. So we begin this process, we'll tighten everything down, make sure it's all super snug, get these legs tightened down properly so they're not wobbling anymore. Now once I get everything tightened up, I'm going to begin sanding this furniture. This is a piece of oak furniture, so I'm going to show you what it looks like to begin the sanding process. I'm going to begin sanding. I'm going to try to eliminate some of the grain profile. I'll be sanding with an 80 grit EcoStorm. EcoStorm sands a lot faster, cuts a lot faster than Film Tech. So I typically use EcoStorm on all my flat surfaces. Anything contoured, I'm going to be using a coarse right here, EcoSilk. I'll be using a 5mm or a 10mm closed cell sponge. Now I've got it all sanded initially. I'm going to vacuum it because I don't want any dust getting mixed in, with my aqua coat, and I don't want the dust down in the pores of the grain, so I want to vacuum everything out before I begin doing any type of grain filling. The next step I'm going to do, I'm going to begin using my aqua coat. And what I'm really concerned about mostly is just the top of this piece of furniture. This is where people are going to be setting drinks, setting stuff. They're going to be feeling it. Typically people are touching, the legs and stuff. I'm not concerned about this. This is kind of weather beaten, water beaten and stuff. So I want to do a really good fill on that. So I'm going to skim a pretty heavy coat over the top of this. I'll skim a light coat. I'm not worried about getting down in the grain. I'm just going to skim a little bit on these flat surfaces. Let that dry and begin sanding. I use Bondo spreaders right here to spread it, or even a credit card. But what I like to do is make sure there's no rough edges. I'll just lightly sand these edges to make sure they're smooth, not rough. That way I'll get a nice, flat, tight skim coat of aqua coat on there. One of the big questions is people will see the furniture afterwards, my after photos, and they'll say, I can still see grain. Well, I'm not trying to eliminate the profile of the wood when I'm doing one coat of aqua coat. I'm just trying to eliminate pinholes that would show up if I painted this a really light color. Probably going to do it a dark blue or something, so I don't have to do a whole lot of filling. Now if you wanted to get your rounded edges filled, if you really wanted to be particular and fill the grain in the rounded corners, you can use your finger works well. You can use try to use a tool like this to fill it if you're really particular about eliminating grain. Now if you're going to try to eliminate 100% of the grain, which I rarely do, you're going to want to do probably 3 coats, sand pretty heavily in between coats. So my aqua coat is now dry. I'm going to be using some flat Film Tech to be sanding the top right here. We'll be using some EcoSilk to be sanded our contoured edges, and I'll skim another coat on the top. Now to give you some idea of what I'm after, I'm just after these little white specks. These are all the deep pores in the oak grain right here, and all those little white specks, if you were to paint it white, those would all be little dark shadows, little pinholes in here that would just gather dust, dirt, debris, water, if you sat a cup on here or something like that, liquids. So I'm filling in all those pinholes. I'll skim another coat, sand it to get flatter. I'm going to be sanding my sides. I typically only do 1 coat on the sides usually 2 coats on the top if I'm just trying to eliminate pinholes. So I'm gonna do one more coat of aqua coat on the top. Got a real heavy crack right there I'm trying to fill. And now it looks like it's filled pretty good. Alright, so now I'm getting ready to sand my top again, my final coat of aqua coat. I'm using my Ecodiamond sponge, just folding it to get down inside these cracks right here where my sander can't get. Can just fold the Ecodiamond and get it down, deep down in there. So the next step, getting ready to prep this or paint this furniture now is to, depending on what product you're going to use. Now I use 2K polys and they're what we call a self-seal. That means they'll prime over bare wood because there's a lot of exposed bare wood on here, and so they act as a primer, act as a sealer. If you catalyze them, they block tannins and tannin bleeds. So I like to catalyze my products, makes them a lot more chemical resistant, water resistant, chip scratch resistant for furniture. It's pretty important. Now, if you're not going to use a self-seal product, a 2K poly that's self-sealed, then you'll probably want to prime this. And so if I run into any type of issues, fisheye issues, I'll just spot prime it after my first coat. Spot prime it, lightly sand it, and the fisheye goes away. It's never not gone away using Ben's primer. So you can prime this whole thing. This is a small piece of furniture. I can just use a spray can and prime the whole entire thing. I wasn't going to, but I'm just going to show you what it would look like just spraying using a spray can. So now there's one crack in the piece of furniture right here in a seam in the wood. The aqua coat didn't fill that, so I'm just using Bondo glazing putty. So anytime I have any small nicks and dings, Bondo glazing putty is the perfect product to sand or to hide small nicks and dings. There's actually a little ding right there. You can eliminate that ding. Just all depends on the furniture itself, the color. The darker the color, the more all this stuff would be hidden. So we're gonna let that Bondo glazing putty dry, and then I'll use a 2-edge knife, 2-edge 5-in-1 tool to apply it with. It's a versatile tool, it has a knife on it too, so we typically keep a 2-edge 5-in-1 or a 2-edge putty knife on me at all times. So now I'm working on getting ready to spray my furniture. I'm going to be using a 2K poly right here, and this is a 1 or 2K poly. You can use it straight out of the can, or you can catalyze it to add more durability to the product. Now this is an absolute vital part of getting ready to spray. Using any type of sprayer is you always want to strain your product. Now I'm going to be using my Apollo Precision 6 Pro to be spraying with, my Atomizer 7700 gun. This is the cup. You can either use gravity fed or siphon feed. I'm using a siphon feed here. All right, one of the final things I like to do when I finish up a piece of furniture, if there's any knobs I can replace or new knobs I can put on, I like to do that just to kind of give it a final polished look to it. This piece of furniture right here started out, it was $5 at a secondhand store. We're all done with it. I'm gonna do one last thing. I'm gonna add a knob. This is gonna give kind of that final cool looking, added touch to it. It's kind of like a antique brass looking knob. All I'm gonna do is just put it right in the middle here. I'm just gonna measure my drawer. One thing I do recommend, like when you're measuring to put on your knobs, you should measure and then remeasure so you don't make a mistake. You drill a hole in the wrong place, then it's going to be difficult to fix. So I don't want to screw my knob on and scratch it. Once I get it snug, I'm just going to take my screwdriver back end and tighten it from the back side. This furniture is all done, moved around, we're moving in and out here, videotaping stuff. Got a little scratch right there. I typically keep artist brushes for doing all my touch-ups. See, just a couple little spots. You want something really soft. I don't want to throw a big old brush stroke on there or anything. Just use a tiny little artist brush. I'll just take some, dab it on there, and touch. Got a few little touch-ups there coming up the side, right there. It's always good to have a really good set of artist brushes for doing touch-ups. I can get squeezed down inside here sometimes, like in cracks and crevices. If the sprayer didn't get deep down in there, you can use this. So have a good set of artist brushes for doing touch-ups. It's always really fun. One thing you don't want to forget to do is get photos, before and after photos. It's like amazing how many times I forget to get a before photo, and it's so cool to be able to go, back at the end and see, see what it looked like before. There's a little touch up there on the bottom of that foot where I hit the door coming through the door there. So there we go. And this is, once again, I'm using a water-based 2K poly, and I typically catalyze my 2K poly when I do furniture. So this is what a 2K poly looks like. With a piece of furniture like this, I wasn't concerned about it, but if you want the piece of furniture to be extra durable, extra water resistant, chemical resistant, then catalyzing it is a good option. There you go, another furniture flip.